Yema, welcome to Tejas classes. So, our batch already we so many people aware of that. We are doing with SSB batch, Success Strategy batch, and if you check with our material as well as you come to know that how many new questions I added from different sources and different years. Even I think so. Some of the questions I inserted before. You may be started your education as well as certain questions from there also I inserted. So if you handle these questions, in addition to that I will convey you from which question you are supposed to do from our ICMA study material. Also go for it, whatever the questions we are doing, all these are additional questions what we are doing. Only alone completely don't depending upon these questions, and every chapter I will convey you, and which of the questions also you are supposed to practice. Got it? So straight away I don't want to waste much time because we have less time. We need to handle with management accounting as well as. That's the reason straight away we'll go with the cost sheet Patma, and everybody knows that this is our compulsory question for 7 marks in the examination. Got it? So before we are starting with our cost sheet patra, and once quickly revise our cost sheet format as well as, yeah, just I will go for that format we already discussed previously. I have that particular slide. Yeah, let's start quickly. So grouping of cost point of view, we maybe divide the concerned things into prime cost, works cost, cost of production, and we maybe call it as next cost of goods sold. And how to find out our prime cost part, Nana? Direct material plus direct wages plus direct expenses combiningly we are calling it as prime cost. Sometimes instead of providing direct material, they may be go with some information for us like opening stock, purchases, carriage on purchases, scrap of material realization, closing stock, yeah, this kind of information they may be provided with us. Then what we need to supposed to calculate, we need to calculate raw material consumed. In that case, how to find out raw material consumed, ma'am? Opening stock plus purchases and add carriage inward, less closing stock, less sale of scrap. If anything available with us, that part should be deducted. Then we maybe get my raw material consumed. Once you got the raw material consumed part, then you need to start doing adjustment of adding direct wages and direct expenses. Especially while we are handling with special design charges and higher charges of special equipment, here only always they are confusing the student. If they provide you exclusively higher charges for you, then throw it under factory overheads. If they mentioned higher charges of specific equipment, show it under direct expenses. Same way, special design charges, special anything, if you see special equipment related and all these concerned expenditure partma, you need to show it under direct expenses. If the same expenses like if you go with higher charges, if you go with the designing charges, drawing charges, if they provided, that should be covered under normally factory overheads. If they use the word specific, directly throw them under direct expenses. But very less cases only in CMA Inter level, they are diluting the information like that. But I added one question based on that under direct expenses, some examples basis we classified one question also. We may be discussing in detail about that concept once again while we are solving the problem. Okay, and the next, once if you add all the three things, we maybe call them as prime cost. Sir, why we are calling it as prime cost? These three expenses are playing an important role. These three expenses are playing an important role. Important means prime. From the total cost point of view, if you observe these three expenses, they are playing very important. That's the reason we maybe call it as a prime cost. After you calculated prime cost, immediately our next adjustment is what, Nana? Factory overheads. Which of the things covered under factory overheads? Indirect portion of expenses what we are incurring in related to factory or up to factory level expenses, that too only indirect expenses, that should be covered under factory overheads, like factory rent, factory supervision, yeah, indirect wages, indirect material part, depreciation on plant and machinery, yeah, power consumption, yeah, these kind of expenses we will show it under factory overheads. Got it, ma? And some of the expenses point of view, they will provide you in the question, they will convey that some part belongs to factory, some part belongs to office, some part belongs to selling, like that. If you remember, we did one illustration also in the classroom. Same model question I inserted, that is only, if I am not wrong, our first question, what we are solving under cost sheet. Okay, once you added your factory overheads, what you are getting, ma? Gross factory cost. Then what is the adjustment you are doing? Add opening working progress less closing working progress, you are getting net factory cost. Some people maybe call it as works cost or factory cost also. Once you got the factory cost, immediately what is your adjustment, ma? Go with administrative overheads. So administrative overheads means which should be covered under administrative overheads. See right here. So administrative overheads point of view, office related indirect portion of expenses like office building rent, yeah, offices people salaries, printing, stationery, audit fee, director's fee, like these kind of expenses what we are incurring, that should be covered under administration, which is not a factory related, which is not a selling related, be covered under managing the organizations of the entity. Further, if you meet any of the expenses, that should be covered under administrative overheads. Remember, sir, capital expenditure never been recorded under cost sheet, which is only should be recorded revenue nature of expenses only. That's the reason in cost sheet we never record like furniture, equipment, plant and machinery, building, these kind of things we never record anywhere. Sir, where we will record them? We will record them under balance sheet, not under cost sheet. Only the capital related point of view, whatever the expenses we incurred in the name of depreciation, like plant and machinery depreciation come under factory overheads, and office building depreciation or office appliances depreciation or office furniture depreciation, these things will covered under administrative overheads. If you are incurring any depreciation like your delivery vans, that should be covered under selling and distribution overheads. So once you added your cost administrative overheads towards your works cost, you maybe call it as a cost of production. Then you are adding opening stock of finished goods less closing stock of finished goods adjustment. Sir, previously we added opening and closing working progress. Why we are adding opening and why we are deducting closing? Opening we are adding, last year that was in working progress. Right now we want to convert them into finished goods. That's the reason opening working progress I am adding. At the end of the product also still some material was in working progress. That goods are not available for sale. That's the reason we are deducting closing work in progress. Same way, add opening stock of finished goods less closing stock of finished goods for your cost of production. Why we are doing that adjustment means, last year I have finished goods with me, I didn't sell them, I want to maintain them as a closing stock. This year those goods are available for sale. Last year closing will be this year opening, or last month closing will be this month opening. That's the reason I'm adding the opening part. Still certain goods I want to maintain with me as a safety basis, as a closing stock point of view. That's the reason closing stock of finished goods we are deducting. Then we will get cost of goods sold. Then once the goods are available for sale, then I need to start marketing, advertising, promotion things. Sometimes to attract the customer, myself only I want to deliver the goods. Like whatever the indirect portion of expenses I am incurring for the promotion of the good, for the distribution of the good, these are all things should be covered under selling and distribution overheads. Finally, you are arriving at cost of sales or total cost. Anybody will do business for the sake of profit. That's the reason we are adding profit. Sometimes profit will be the balancing figure also. This is our cost sheet format. Yeah, so with this little information we can start our first illustration. Yeah, so I think so everybody received the material. Let's open your first illustration from that particular PDF. We'll start. Yeah. From the following is the manufacturing profit and loss account of Anu Limited for the year ended 31st March 2024. They are giving us opening stock of raw material, opening stock of finished goods, purchase of raw material, carriage on material, cost of special design, royalty. These two consider as what, Nana? Direct expenses. Correct? Because without payment of royalty, are you allowed to do production? What is the meaning of direct expenses? Whatever the expenses we are incurring, whether they are directly traceable to a cost object in economical manner, you maybe call it as a direct expenses. So this royalty and this special design both are directly related to product, and these expenses assigned to a cost object. That's the reason these two expenses what we are calling it as direct expenses. Direct wages provided, power will come under factory overheads. Okay, then rent and rates of office, rent and rates of factory, interest on loan, electricity, provision for bad debts, establishment charges, telephono, advertisement to, depreciation of plant and machinery, depreciation of furniture and fixtures of office, depreciation of furniture and fixtures of factory. That's the reason only if they mention only depreciation on furniture and fixture, that should be covered under administrative overheads. Clearly they mention that is belongs to what? Factory. That's the reason that should be recorded under factory overheads. Depreciation of office appliances, income tax. If you understand here, one is provision for bad debts, second one is interest on loan, third one is income tax. These three are what? Purely financial nature of items. And one more point you need to remember, financial items never been included in cost sheet while we are preparing our cost sheet. Which of the things are not included, ma? Finance nature of expenses, purely financial nature of things, whether it is income, whether it is an expenditure, both should be excluded for the purpose of computation of cost sheet. So these are all purely financial nature of item. That's the reason we will ignore them. Closing stock of raw material, closing stock of finished goods, sale of scrap, discount received, dividend received. These are also purely financial nature of incomes. So these two items also ignored while we are preparing the cost sheet. And salaries, director's fee, auditor's fee, bank charges, cash discount allowed, never been recorded in the cost sheet. Donations never be form part of cost sheet. Rent for warehouse and bank charges also, if you consider, that should be covered under administrative overheads because that is belongs to office. and prepare a statement that classify the cost into different components based on the information above, taken into account of the following factors. 50% of telephone expenses related to office, 50% to sales department. If they don't provide, telephone expenses directly will covered under administrative overheads. Whenever they said 50% belongs to office, means 50% will covered under administrative overhead, 50% will covered under selling and distribution overheads. Same way, salaries what they provided 98,000. If they don't provide any information, straight away salaries will covered under administrative overheads, because wages belongs to factory, salaries covered under administration part. 20% of salaries related to what? Factory. That means come under factory overheads. 60% belongs to what? Office. 20% belongs to what? Selling department. So entire salaries they are not showing under one overheads, they are splitted into three overheads. Some part under factory, some part under administration, some part under selling and distribution overheads. 75% of establishment expenses related to what? Office. 25% belongs to what? Sales. Same way 65% of electricity belongs to factory. Remaining part belongs to office. If they don't said anything about electricity, normally power and electricity consumption will be there in the factory. You maybe show it under factory overheads. Got it? This is what the question analysis. Before starting with, everyone just 1 minute once again go through with the entire question. In the examination, compulsory write down which of the items you are excluding, write down on the note point. Like bad debts, provision for bad debts, these some of the income tax payment, we are excluding certain items while you are solving, because here we may be discuss few problems, but in the examination you may be solve only one problem. Got it? That's the reason go with completely. Presentation is very important. Your working also should be form part of your answer. So do the workings perfectly. So while we are solving the things, just try to give me information, because I will go for somewhere and I will try to solve the problem. Yeah, that's try to give me the genuine information. You can speak, but only one guy should speak, because we are under recording now. So that's the reason, just only one guy speak. Just give me the details properly. Don't mislead. Yeah, we'll start. Here, put the heading. Everyone start with statement. Statement of cost of Anu Limited for the year ending 31st December 2024. Statement of cost of Anu Limited for the year ending 31st December 2024. Yeah, open 3 columns. Particulars, amount, amount. starting with what, opening stock of raw material, so opening stock of raw material, how much given in the question, 4500 ena? If any of my information wrong, let me correct. Then for this, what we are supposed to add, purchase of, or simply purchases. How much purchases they given? 2,50,000. Correct ena? They said sale of scrap, sale of raw scrap of material, they said just only scrap. If they said scrap of material adjusted with the material cost, or otherwise we will try to adjust before we are calculating our works cost, net factory cost. Before that we will adjust our scrap pile. That's the reason, see the question clearly, they given sale of scrap of material means that should be deducted from your material cost. But if they said only sale of scrap, that should be adjusted before works cost. That means after you calculated factory overheads and all these adjustments you have, then that part should be eliminated. Yeah, for this add, I think so, carriage on purchases are there, carriage on material or something, correct? Yeah, add that one also, carriage on material. How much? 3,000 rupees. If I am not wrong, they given closing stock of raw material also. That will be 20,000. Deduct it, and do the calculations and let me know, what is the raw material consumed. 2,37,500. I think so. In the given question, they provided direct wages. So prime cost, direct wages also form part. How much amount directly we can write in outer column? 1,80,000. Because you don't have any accrued wages or outstanding wages, you don't have anything. That's the reason directly we are adding with raw material consumed. Then add direct expenses. Under that we have two expenses for us. One is what? Special design charges, and second one was royalty. Correct? Both should be covered under direct expenses. First write down, special design. How much? 8,700. Then royalty 4,500. Combined 13,200. So after adding raw material consumed plus direct wages plus direct expenses, combiningly what we are calling it as prime cost. Total, sir. 4,30,700. Yeah. Then for this, what we are supposed to add? Factory overheads. So write down, add factory overheads. Under that we have different categories. Correct? If I am not wrong.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let's go with first by one. First start with power. Power total amount belongs to factory only. Yeah, that's the reason. Directly write down 70,000 here. Yeah. Next, rent and rates of factory 4,500 direct amount. Next, electricity Ma, I think so. We have adjustment for electricity. Yeah. Total electricity amount, how much given, Ra? Amount, Nana.
10,800, sir.
Okay. 10,800 into 65% belongs to factory. Yeah? Correct? So into 65% amount, Nana.
7,020.
7,020. Next, the depreciation of plant and machinery, na? I think so 6,000 only. Yeah. Next, same way, depreciation of furniture and fixtures of factory given up. That is 3,500. Correct? And next, salary. But salary, what they mentioned, 96,000. In that, I think so 20% only belongs to factory. Correct? So 96,000 into 20%, that is equal to 19,600 rupees. Correct? Na?
200. 90,200.
200. 96 only salary, sure? 98.
98, sir.
Okay, ma. 98,000 into 20%, that is equal to 19,000, now 600, correct only? Write down the total amount in outer column, ma. 70 plus 45 plus 7020 plus 6,000 plus 3,500 plus 19,600.
10,620.
1 lakh
10,620.
620. Then we will get directly gross factory cost and net factory cost also. Why? We don't have any opening and closing work in progress with us. That's the reason before writing net factory cost or works cost, deduct sale of scrap. How much? 3,500 deduct. So 4,30,700 plus 1,10,620 minus sale of scrap 3,500. Find out my factory cost.
5,37,820.
5,37,820.
820.
For this, what is the adjustment we will do? Administrative overheads only. Add administrative overheads. But under this, they didn't provided administrative overheads directly to us. Under different categories we have with us. Correct? First, starting with what, Nana? Rates and rent and rates of office. 5,000 है. Yeah. Next, electricity. Totally 10,800 point of view. 65% we assign to factory. Balance 35% belongs to office. So 10,800 into 35%.
3,780.
3,780. Next, establishment cost. Once see the question, establishment cost, how much given in the question?
$12,000, sir.
12,000. How much belongs to office, Nana? 75%. Yeah, that means 3/4 means we'll get 9,000. Next, telephone expenses. How much Nana telephone expenses?
2,500.
2,500 point of view. 50% belongs to office, 50% belongs to sales. Correct? So 1,250. Next, salaries. 98,000 into 60% enama belongs to office. So 98,000 into 60%, how much?
58,800.
58,800. Then we have depreciation on furniture and fixtures, that will be 5,000. Then depreciation on office appliances given, that should be 1,500. Then director's fee, that is given 5,000. Auditor's fee, 4,000. Even bank charges also consider as a finance expenses, don't show them under administrative expenses. Because whenever if you are running any bank loan, then bank charges will coming into picture. Still we didn't took any loan, still we are under the starting process. That's the reason we are not considering our bank charges also under administrative overheads. Now do the total of these things and write down under outer column.
93,330.
93,330.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, then after adding this we are getting cost of production. So 5,37,820 plus 93,330. Six lakh
31,150.
31,150.
Yes, sir.
For this add opening stock of finished goods less closing stock of finished goods. Opening, if I am not wrong, given 2,000, closing given 9,000. So we need to deduct 7,000. Then we will get cost of goods sold, 6,24,150. For this, what is the adjustment required? Add selling and distribution overheads. Correct?
Yes.
So for this, what is the amount of expenses we need to write? Establishment expenses, 50% we showed under office, balance 50% will reflected under selling and distribution overheads. Same way telephone expenses also. Establishment 2,500, no, I think so. My establishment how much?
18,000, sir.
18,000 into how much percent belongs to here?
25%, sir.
We didn't wrote under factory overheads, establishment. Not given, 1 second. Establishment 75% for office, 25%. Okay. Into 25%.
4,500.
4,500. Sure. 18,
Establishment amount 12,000.
12,000. That is equal to 3,000. Telephone expenses 2,500 into 50%. That is equal to 1,250. Then salaries 98,000 into 25%. Sorry, 20%. 20% belongs to factory, 60% belongs to administration, another 20% belongs to sales. So 19,600. Then we have advertisement. How much my advertisement cost?
3,800, sir.
3,800. If I am not wrong, we have rent of warehouse also,
Warehouse.
because rent of warehouse belongs to what? Storage only for goods which are finished goods, so that is covered under distribution, selling and distribution related. That is 5,200. Anything else? Think so. We're done with all the adjustments. Now do the total of that and write down in outer column.
32,850.
32,850. Then find out my total cost or cost of sales.
6,50,000.
I think so. They provided in the question sales part. Starting of the question on the credit side, they provided 7,50,000 is our sales. Then profit will be balancing figure. That will be 93,000.